the Silver Scout ship. Harmony glided through the darkness of deep space, its sleek form a stark contrast to the vastness surrounding it. Captain Day sat in the command chair, his blue skin reflecting the soft glow of control panels. His four-fingered hand tapped thoughtfully against the armrest as he studied the main view screen. "Captain, we're detecting an unknown vessel," reported Officer June, her slender antenna twitching with excitement. "It's approaching from Sector 7. Day leaned forward. "Origin? Impossible," June muttered, running the scan again. "The vessel appears to be from Earth. They shouldn't have deep space capability for another 50 cycles." The bridge crew fell silent. Humans were a recent discovery for the Galactic Federation, a primitive species barely out of their planetary atmosphere. According to all reports, "Open communications," Day ordered. The view screen flickered, revealing a human face. The creature had pale skin, dark eyes, and showed its teeth in what Federation intelligence reports identified as a smile. "This is Commander Han of the Earth. Vessel Horizon. Greetings from humanity." Day performed the formal greeting gesture. "This is Captain Day of the Federation scout ship Harmony. Your presence here is unexpected." The human's smile widened. "We get that a lot. Mind if we approach? We'd love to exchange information." Medical Officer Mina moved closer to the captain, speaking softly. "Their ship shows damage from a solar flare. They've traveled through the Karen belt without proper shielding." "Impossible," Day whispered. "That would expose them to lethal radiation." On screen, Commander Han continued smiling as if being in mortal danger was perfectly normal. "We had a few bumps getting here, but nothing we couldn't handle." "You intentionally traveled through the Karen belt?" Day couldn't hide his shock. Han shrugged. "Fastest route. Our shields held, mostly." Science Officer June frantically checked her readings. "Captain, their ship shows signs of multiple repairs. They've been patching their vessel while in transit." Day's inner eyelids blinked rapidly in disbelief. Making repairs while traveling at such speeds would be like performing surgery during a hurricane. "Permission to come aboard?" Han asked casually. "We bring gifts from Earth." 2 hours later, the Federation crew watched in fascination as 5 humans moved around the Harmony's conference room. They seemed oblivious to the different gravity and oxygen mixture, adjusting with remarkable speed. "Try this," said a human female named Sue, offering small brown squares to the Federation officers. "It's called chocolate." Officer Mina scanned it first. "It contains multiple stimulants and mood-altering compounds." "Yes," Sue agreed cheerfully. "That's what makes it delicious." Day watched as his science officer cautiously tasted the substance, then immediately reached for more. "You consume this regularly?" Day asked. "Some of us multiple times daily," Commander Han explained, "along with coffee, which has even stronger stimulants." Day made notes in his personal log. These humans deliberately ingested substances that altered their brain chemistry for pleasure. The conversation shifted to space travel. The Federation representatives explained their careful exploration protocols, including the standard 50-cycle observation period before contacting new species. Han laughed. "We got bored waiting for you to visit, so we decided to come find you instead." "But the risks," Dai began, "are part of the fun," finished another human, Quan. "If we waited until something was completely safe, we'd never leave our planet." Suddenly, the ship's alarm blared. "Micro-meteor shower approaching," announced the computer. While the Federation crew moved calmly toward safety positions, Day noticed Commander Han watching the view screen with what appeared to be excitement. "Beautiful," Han whispered as tiny points of light streaked past the ship. Later, after the humans returned to their vessel with promises of future meetings, Day gathered his senior officers. "Their psychological profiles show no signs of mental instability," Officer Mina reported, sounding confused. "Yet they continually engage in high-risk behavior." "They modified their engine mid-journey," added June. "No testing, no simulations. They just tried something new while traveling at near light speed." Day looked at the data collected during their brief encounter. They're not insane by any clinical definition. Their risk assessment is simply different. They see danger as a challenge, rather than a warning. They have a saying, Mina noted. Han mentioned it when I asked about their exploration philosophy. He said humans have a special kind of courage their ancestors called being crazy enough to try. Day nodded slowly. Send a priority message to Federation Command. Classification, urgent discovery. Humans aren't simply an emerging species, they represent an entirely new form of intelligent life. One that evolves by deliberately seeking out danger instead of avoiding it. As the Harmony prepared to depart, they received one final transmission from the horizon. A star chart marked with a dozen unexplored regions and a simple message, race you there. The Grand Hall of the Federation Council sparkled with light, reflecting off crystalline walls. Representatives from 87 worlds stood in their ceremonial positions, maintaining proper distance according to protocol. Captain Day stood beside Council Elder Bo, whose translucent skin pulsed with nervous energy. The humans arrived today, Elder Bo said. Your report about their unusual behaviors has caused quite a stir. Before Day could respond, the massive doors slid open. The human delegation walked in, not in the formal single-file line as expected, but as a casual group. Ambassador Tay led them, a short woman with bright eyes and an even brighter smile. Greetings. To the Galactic Federation, she called out, her voice echoing in the suddenly silent chamber. Elder Bo stepped forward to perform the traditional greeting ritual, extending his arms to the ceremonial distance of 2 body lengths. Ambassador Tay surprised everyone by walking directly up to him and extending her hand. On Earth, we shake hands when we meet new friends, she explained. The elder froze, uncertain how to respond to this breach of the contact taboo. After a moment's hesitation, he carefully extended his hand. The gathered representatives gasped as the human clasped his hand and moved it up and down. Wonderful, Tay said. Now we're properly introduced. Day noticed several council members touching their emergency communicators. Physical contact with unknown species was considered both dangerous and deeply inappropriate. Yet the humans seemed to consider it normal. Please follow me to the reception area, Elder Bo said, his voice slightly shaky. In the reception hall, Federation hosts watched in fascination as the humans sampled food and drink. Cultural attaché. Jin approached Day, her eye stalks extended in alarm. The dark liquid they brought, they call it coffee. Our analysis shows it contains powerful stimulants. Jin whispered. Yes, Day confirmed. They consume it daily. But that's not all, Jin continued. The amber liquid in those glass containers? It's called whiskey. It contains ethanol, a neurotoxin. Across the room, human delegate Q raised his glass. A toast to new friendships across the stars. The humans drank the amber liquid, then laughed at something Q said. Federation representatives watched in horror as the humans deliberately poisoned themselves at a diplomatic function. Later that evening, the humans suggested a cultural showcase. The Federation representatives sat politely as the humans displayed images from Earth. This is mountain climbing, explained Delegate Min, showing pictures of humans scaling sheer cliff faces. A popular recreational activity. You risk falling to your deaths. For enjoyment? Asked Council Member Sung. Min nodded, enthusiastically. The danger is part of the fun. The next image showed humans jumping from aircraft with fabric devices. Skydiving, Min said. The free-fall sensation is incredible. The presentation continued with humans surfing enormous waves, racing vehicles at dangerous speeds, and eating. Contests featuring extremely spicy foods that caused physical pain. Your species deliberately seeks discomfort, observed Science Director J. Why? Min thought for a moment. I guess we get bored easily. We need to feel alive. The following day, during formal treaty discussions, a small fire broke out in the Environmental Control Unit. While Federation security implemented the standard evacuation protocol, Delegate Q calmly walked to the unit, removed his outer garment, and smothered the flames. "Problem solved," he said, brushing soot from his hands. Elder Bo stared in disbelief. "You risked injury rather than following safety procedures." "It was just a small fire," Q shrugged. "Faster to put it out than evacuate everyone." During the final day of negotiations, a translation error created a moment that would change galactic understanding forever. Ambassador Tay was explaining humanity's approach to problem-solving when the translation device malfunctioned. "Humans aren't insane." The translator projected her words. "We're batshit crazy, and that's our strength." The Federation representatives looked confused. Elder Bo requested clarification of the unknown term. "It means we go beyond conventional thinking," Tay explained, smiling. "We embrace chaos, take risks, and find solutions others might consider impossible." As the human delegation prepared to depart, they left behind artifacts from Earth as goodwill, gifts, music recordings, art pieces, and books. Federation cultural analysts were particularly puzzled by a popular human phrase found in many of their stories. "Hold my beer and watch this." Captain Day made his final report to the Council after the humans departed. They consume substances that would kill most species. They seek out danger rather than avoid it. They touch strangers without fear. By any Federation standard, humans should be classified as dangerously unstable. Yet they've built an impressive civilization, noted Elder Bo. Perhaps this batshit crazy approach has advantages we don't understand. The Council voted unanimously to continue diplomatic relations with Earth. The official reasons cited in Federation records: humanity's unique problem-solving abilities. The unofficial reason, whispered among Council members: better to have these unpredictable creatures as allies than potential enemies. The emergency alarms blared throughout Federation Station Omega. Red lights flashed in every corridor as personnel rushed to battle stations. Fleet Commander Sun stood rigidly before the main view screen, watching as dozens of black ships surrounded the station. "The Void Collective," he said quietly. "They've found us." For decades, the Collective had remained a distant threat, striking isolated outposts at the edges of Federation space. Now they had brought their full force to the heart of Federation territory. The communications officer turned to Sun, her face pale. "Commander, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. The signal contains something." As the transmission filled the command center, a wave of dread washed over the crew. The signal wasn't just sound or images. It contained psychic elements that triggered primal fear responses in most sentient species. Officers gripped their stations, bodies trembling. Some collapsed where they stood. "Block it," Sun ordered, fighting against the terror clouding his mind. "We can't," the officer whimpered. "It bypasses our filters." The station's defenses remained inactive as crew members struggled against the paralyzing fear. The Federation fleet ships hung motionless in space, their crews similarly affected. Only one vessel moved. The human battleship Defiant broke formation, its engines glowing bright against the darkness. On its bridge, Captain Yoon sat calmly in her command chair. "Status report," she demanded. Her first officer, Ju, checked the readings. "The Federation fleet is incapacitated. The signal seems designed to trigger fear responses in brain structures most species share. But not humans." Ju shook his head. "We feel it, Captain, but our neurological response is different. It's more like excitement." Yoon tapped her communicator. "All human ships form up. Federation forces are compromised." 5 human vessels moved into position around the Defiant. On Station Omega, Commander Sun watched in disbelief as the human ships organized themselves. The station's communications officer managed to establish contact with the Defiant. "How are you still functioning?" Sun asked, his voice strained. Captain Yoon's face appeared on screen. "The collective signal affects the amygdala in a way that paralyzes most species with fear. Human brains process it differently. For us, it triggers our fight-or-flight response, and we've chosen fight." "We need help," Sun admitted. "Our ships can't move." Yoon nodded. "We'll handle the collective. Just keep your people alive." She turned to her tactical officer. Let's show them what crazy looks like. The 6 human ships moved in a pattern that appeared random to outside observers. They separated, seemingly fleeing in different directions. The Void Collective ships began pursuit, breaking their formation around the station. For generations, the Collective had relied on their fear-inducing signals to immobilize enemies before attacking. They had never encountered a species immune to their primary weapon. Commander Sun watched the tactical display, confused by the human strategy. They're retreating in different directions. It makes no sense. Not retreating, Sun's tactical officer said, struggling to focus. Look at their vector calculations. They're drawing the Collective away from each other. The human ships suddenly cut their engines. In the darkness of space, they became nearly invisible to sensors. The Collective ships slowed, searching for their targets. Captain Yoon's voice came over the command channel, addressing all human ships. Execute Crazy Ivan now. The 6 human vessels ignited their engines simultaneously, but instead of fleeing, they accelerated directly toward their pursuers. Each human ship targeted a Collective vessel, closing distance at maximum speed. They're on collision courses, Sun gasped. At the last possible moment, the human ships fired all weapons and veered away, executing maneuvers that strained their structural integrity to the breaking point. The surprised Collective ships took heavy damage, their formations shattered. The Defiant spun around, its hull groaning under the strain. Captain Yoon gripped her chair as alarms sounded throughout her ship. Damage report, she called. Hull. Breaches on decks 5 through 8, Ju reported. Weapons at 60%. But look, the Collective ships are breaking formation. The fear signal weakened as the Collective vessels scrambled to regroup. Federation crews began to recover, their systems coming back online. Commander Sun ordered his ships to target the now disorganized Collective vessels. With their psychological weapon rendered ineffective and their formation broken, the Collective began to retreat. 3 hours later, the battle was over. The Void Collective had withdrawn completely from Federation space. In the station's medical bay, Captain Yoon sat beside Commander Sun as a doctor treated her broken arm. Your tactics defied all logic, Sun said. You deliberately flew toward enemy vessels on collision courses. You executed maneuvers that damaged your own ships. By all tactical doctrine, what you did was insane. Yoon smiled through her pain. Sometimes the only way to beat a calculating enemy is to do something so crazy they can't predict it. The Federation Tactical Council will want to study your methods, Sun said. Good luck with that, Yoon laughed. Even we don't know what we're going to do until we do it. That's our secret weapon. As the human captain left the medical bay, Sun heard one of her officers ask about their next move. We'll repair, rearm, and then find the Collective's home. Base, Yoon replied casually, as if suggesting nothing more dangerous than a pleasant outing. Sun shook his head in amazement. The Federation had discovered that in a crisis, having allies who were a little bit crazy might be exactly what they needed. Professor Wu adjusted his ocular enhancers as he gazed out at the packed lecture hall. Students from 27 different species filled the seats, their attention fixed on the holographic display behind him. The image showed a human brain scan, highlighted sections pulsing with color. Today we continue our study of human cognitive patterns, he began. Following the Void Collective incident, the Federation Science Council has prioritized understanding what they now call constructive irrationality. A Meridian student raised a slender appendage. Professor, isn't that a contradiction? How can irrationality be constructive? Excellent question, Wu replied. For most species, decision-making follows predictable risk assessment pathways. We evaluate options, calculate probabilities, and select the safest path forward. He gestured to the brain scan. Humans do this too, but they possess an additional cognitive feature. They can override logical calculations when intuition suggests an unconventional approach. In the front row, a human exchange student named Kim smiled slightly. Being the subject of such fascination still felt strange, 6 months into her residency at the Federation Academy. After class, Professor Wu invited Kim to join him for the faculty gathering. Your perspective would be valuable, he explained. Many of my colleagues are implementing human-inspired training programs. The faculty lounge buzzed with activity. Kim noticed several non-human professors attempting to drink coffee, their faces contorting at the bitter taste. They're trying to understand human stimulant use, Wu explained. The theory is that chemical alertness might help trigger intuitive thinking. Across the room, two Erixian professors argued loudly, behavior entirely out of character for their normally peaceful species. What's happening there? Kim asked. They're practicing constructive disagreement, Wu sighed. Unfortunately, they've misunderstood the concept of human debate. They're simply shouting random objections without purpose. Kim spent the next hour observing similar scenes. A Tellurian, security instructor attempting to teach spontaneous problem-solving by creating unexpected emergencies, resulting in 3 injuries. A group of scientists trying to experience creative frustration by intentionally breaking their equipment, and a linguistics professor attempting to incorporate human idioms into formal presentations with confusing results. They're all missing. The point, Kim whispered to Wu. You can't simulate human thinking by copying our worst habits. The following day, Kim was invited to observe Federation Security Forces training. Officer Min, recently appointed to integrate human tactical approaches, had developed what he called unpredictability exercises. Today, we will practice human-style combat responses, Min announced to his team. Disregard all standard protocols, and act impulsively. The results were immediate and disastrous. Without coordination or planning, the security team collided with each other, missed targets, and created dangerous crossfire situations. Min himself attempted a dramatic sliding maneuver he had seen in human combat footage, breaking 3 limbs in the process. As medical drones carried Min away, Kim approached the second in command. Human tactics aren't about random actions, she explained. We're unpredictable to you because we integrate emotional responses with logical ones, not because we ignore planning altogether. Over the following weeks, integration attempts continued across the Federation with similar results. In engineering departments, technicians attempted intuitive repairs without diagnostics, causing system failures. In medical facilities, doctors tried gut-feeling diagnosis without proper scans, misidentifying ailments. Even in dining halls, chefs experimented with creative flavor combinations inspired by human cuisine, resulting in inedible meals and several allergic reactions. Researcher Jay invited Kim to her laboratory where stacks of data tablets covered every surface. I've been analyzing the failed integration attempts, Jay explained. I believe we've identified the fundamental error. She displayed a comparison chart. Non-human species are attempting to simulate chaotic thinking through logical processes, an inherent contradiction. We're trying to reach human-style conclusions while still using our traditional thought patterns. It's like trying to get drunk by calculating the effects of alcohol, Kim suggested. Precisely, Jay tapped excitedly on her tablet. We cannot become human-like thinkers, but we can develop complementary systems that achieve similar results. This insight led to the formation of mixed species working groups. Rather than trying to make Meridians think like humans, teams now paired Meridian logical processors with human intuitive thinkers, creating powerful complementary units. 6 months later, Kim stood beside Professor Wu at the Federation Scientific Council as researcher Jay presented her findings. We propose a formal redefinition of sanity as a species-specific concept rather than a universal standard, Jay concluded. What appears as insanity in one species may represent evolutionary adaptation in another. The council chamber erupted in debate, some methodical and measured, others passionate and loud. Kim smiled at the blend of approaches. The real integration isn't about making everyone think alike, she told Wu. It's about recognizing that different thought processes can be equally valid. Outside the chamber, a newly installed plaque displayed a quote from the First Human Federation Treaty. Our differences are not obstacles to overcome but resources to combine. Below it, someone had added an unofficial addendum in smaller text, even if some of those resources are completely batshit crazy. The exploration vessel, Discovery, hung in space at the very edge of mapped territory. Its unique design reflected its mixed crew. Sleek Federation technology merged with the more robust, redundant systems humans preferred. On the observation deck, Science Director Hyun pressed her hand against the transparent aluminum window, gazing at the swirling cosmic dust beyond. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Captain Do said, joining her. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of contentment in his species. "Beautiful and deadly," Hyun replied. "That dust contains particles that could disable our sensors." Do made a chirping sound that served as his species' version of laughter. 3 years ago, I would have immediately changed course. Now I find myself wondering what we might discover if we ventured closer. "You're thinking like a human," Hyun observed with a smile. "Perhaps that's not a bad thing." The Discovery's mission was unprecedented: to explore regions previously deemed too dangerous or unpredictable for standard Federation protocols. Its crew was evenly split between humans and various Federation species, specifically selected for their complementary thinking styles. In the ship's laboratory, Navigator Bin studied star charts with growing concern. "The gravitational readings make no sense," he told his human colleague, Engineer Sue. "There shouldn't be this much distortion in empty space." Sue leaned over the charts. "Maybe space isn't empty there. What if there's something our sensors can't detect?" Bin's tentacles twisted anxiously. "That's speculation without evidence. Also known as a hypothesis," Sue replied cheerfully. "Let's find out." When they presented their findings to the command team, Federation crew members recommended a cautious detour around the anomaly. The human contingent voted to investigate directly. "This is exactly why we formed this joint mission," Captain Do reminded them. "To balance caution with curiosity." They compromised, approaching the anomaly at reduced speed with enhanced shields. As they drew closer, the ship's sensors began to malfunction. Navigation systems flickered. The engines struggled to maintain consistent output. "Unknown gravitational field affecting all systems," reported Officer Lee. "Standard navigation is failing." Fear rippled through the Federation crew members. Years of training had taught them that when systems failed, retreat was the only logical option. Science Director Hyun studied the readings, her mind making connections that defied standard analysis. "The field isn't random," she said suddenly. "It's pulsing in a pattern." Captain Do turned to her. "What are you suggesting?" "I think it's artificial," Hyun explained. "Someone or something created this distortion." The ship shuddered violently. Warning alarms blared as the Discovery was pulled deeper into the anomaly. "Engines at maximum reverse," Bin called out. "We can't break free." The Federation crew began emergency shutdown procedures, preparing for the worst. But Hyun was still, studying the pattern of the gravitational pulses. "It's a frequency," she realized. "Like a communication method." Engineer Sue joined her at the science station. Together, they analyzed the pattern, seeing what others couldn't. Not just danger, but possibility. "Captain," Hyun said firmly, "I recommend we stop fighting against the pull and instead modify our shield harmonics to match the frequency of the pulses." Do stared at her. "That would leave us vulnerable." "Yes," she admitted. "But I believe we're being scanned, not attacked. Fighting it is making things worse." Federation protocols explicitly prohibited lowering defenses in unknown situations. The ship shuddered again, more violently. "We have perhaps 2 minutes before structural failure," Officer Lee reported. Captain Do looked from his Federation officers to his human crew members. Years of working with humans had taught him one vital lesson. When conventional approaches failed, unconventional thinking became the most logical choice. "Match the frequencies," he ordered. Engineer Sue immediately adjusted the shield harmonics. The violent shaking stopped almost instantly. Around them, the swirling cosmic dust formed into complex patterns. "It's responding to us," Hyun whispered. The patterns grew more organized, coalescing into recognizable geometric shapes. The ship's computer began translating the patterns into data. "It's a library," Bin said in awe. "An ancient data repository," disguised as a natural phenomenon. Over the next several hours, the Discovery downloaded information from a civilization that had vanished millions of years ago. The data contained star maps of regions no Federation ship had ever visited, technological concepts beyond current understanding, and records of dozens of sentient species previously unknown. Later, as the ship journeyed back to Federation space, with its precious data, Captain Du found Science Director Hyun in the mess hall. "Your intuitive leap saved us," he acknowledged. "Federation logic would have doomed the mission." Hyun shook her head. "It wasn't just intuition. It was a combination of your meticulous observation protocols and human willingness to try the improbable. The Federation Council wants to know how to replicate your thought process," Do said. "They want to train others to make similar leaps." Hyun laughed. "Tell them they're asking the wrong question. Earth's evolutionary history created human thinking. We survived because we could imagine possibilities beyond immediate evidence, from invisible predators to distant galaxies." Captain Doe's 4 eyes blinked thoughtfully. "So your species' apparent irrationality is simply a different kind of rationality," Hyun finished. "One that evolved in an environment where curiosity and adaptability outweighed caution." As the Discovery approached Federation space, its databanks contained not just the ancient library's secrets, but something equally valuable: proof that being batshit crazy might be the greatest evolutionary advantage in a universe full of unknowns.